But we're journalists, not Oprah. And being an ace journalist that she is, Janela managed to find a balance between her reporter self and her human self. She wrote excellent stories that developed a life of their own. During the same week, MVG reporter Geraldine Castillo confided that she was reluctant to interview members of the ill-fated family. They are grieving and I feel uncomfortable intruding into their privacy. Unfortunately, I told her, half seriously, half jokingly, we are in a cruel business. We are nosy creatures. Early on in my career, I was exposed to old-school, callous editors, the heartless ones who saw people as nothing but news. Engaging the heart is a stamp of unprincipled and flawed journalism, they told me. I was a 20-year-old cub reporter when my editor at the Philippine Daily Globe sent me to cover a late-night hostage crisis. It was a stop the presses moment. Shortly after midnight, the hostage takers surrendered after a 4-hour negotiation. I called the editor and I relayed the good news. No one died. He gave up his gun and surrendered peacefully, I told the editor. I was flabbergasted by his reaction. Grab the gun and shoot that sucker, he said. Apparently, good news was not good news for the paper. A peaceful, death-free hostage negotiation was not page 1 material and didn't deserve to stop the press. I had somehow been influenced into that kind of detachment and callousness. Having come from the disaster capital of the world, I have since seen countless deaths before my eyes. But emotions would always find a way to creep into the journalists' callous hearts one way or the other. I remember the first time I wept during coverage. During the bloody coup attempt in 1989, I was with a group of government soldiers holding out behind the bushes, waiting to counterattack a rebel force. A rebel tank rolled in. A government soldier shot his bazooka. He was precise. He cheered. The rest of us joined in the cheering. When things eventually settled down, we checked the tank and found out that the driver was the shooter's own brother. He wept. So did I. It was the most painfully disturbing sight I've ever seen. For some inexplicable and unrelated reason, that exact emotion suddenly crept back into my heart on Wednesday when I saw the stoic, frail, and harmless-looking Chad Ryan DeSoto enter the courtroom for his magistrate hearing. What devil went into his head? What trouble is he going through, I wondered. But I suspended my judgment. I felt a pain. I guess it was a mother's sentiment that brought about the unforgivable tenderness for a man who just killed 3 people. He's the same age as my son, her son. It was after this event that my son told me, later that night, that he was right there when the tragedy happened. He was sitting on a bench in front of the sandcastle and would have been the first person to be hit by the speeding car. He quickly moved out of the way. A 4 feet distance saved his life. I was stunned, angry, and then relieved. When it gets closer to home, it's harder to disengage one's heart. Emotional detachment is a principle inculcated in journalism class, but something that can pose a dilemma in the field at certain times. While objectivity in journalism is a must, absolute emotional detachment can be theoretically incomprehensible and humanly impossible, as long as humans are humans. In this cruel business, finding the right balance between the reporter's self and the human self can be a challenge, but is a triumph.